I am who I am because I value my past. The memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I was young, I still needed you, but you were taken away from me too soon. If I had one wish, it would be seeing you again. Today we're strong men and women, even though you are not here to see. We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down on us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out, never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. We are here as one nation. We say never again. We unite as human race. We say never again to genocide. Never again again. To genocide. Never again, never again, never again. We brought you flowers. 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 We brought you
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this very important broadcast, Ambazonia This Week with Tarh Paddy King. Today, we're going to be talking on something very important. That's the 11th February Sako celebration, which I estimate to be a deception that has been in motion or that has been in action within the Federal Republic of Ambazonia for 6 decades. And how did it all come about? Why has it been for close to 8 years Ambazonians have resisted the celebration of this day? Why is it called Youth Day? Why not Plebiscite Day? Why deny people the truth and the significance? The reason why Cameroon chooses to adopt Youth Day is not justifiable. So is it that Ambazonians are just looking for problems? Do they just want to lock people down? Are they just looking for reasons to fight a war? Some have argued that the former president or prime minister of the federal of the Southern Cameroon, that's John Foncha, is the one who started celebrating Youth Day. He transformed that day into a Youth Day. But he never told French Cameroon to politicize it, to use it as justification of their occupation of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. So lots of questions we'll be asking here this evening has to do all around where we're coming from. So we take the opportunity during times like this to look at our historicity and legality. We want to ask very necessary questions. What's the legal argument in international law for independence for Southern Cameroons? If we are claiming that we are independent, we can never overemphasize that the importance that our independence has been restored, stolen but restored. Now, the physical and legal birth of Southern Cameroons under international law. We're going to get into all of those intricacies today. Fortunately, we have lawyers. The first specific international status of the Southern Cameroons within international boundaries. Are our claims as an independent nation justified? Or is it just people seeking for problems or seeking to create problems and to fight? These questions should all be answered. The plebiscite actually took place on the 11th of February 1961 and on the 12th. Why choose just the 11th? So what's the definition of the plebiscite? What's the difference between the plebiscite and a referendum? A lot of people have narrowed it down, or some have confused it to a referendum. which has a different legal significance in international law. What actually took place? How did it take place? Who were the actors? What was the calculation of the actors that initiated and executed this mayhem, this evil against the people of Southern Cameroons? We believe that the war of our independence that we're currently fighting is mostly psychological, educational. For 6 decades, the Republic of Cameroon has opted never to tell us the truth about ourselves. Our history was distorted. We were beaten for even asking questions about our birth or our own truth, which is just an unfortunate situation. At this given moment, we will be taking a very short break. Right after the break, we'll have the lawyers to talk to us on issues relating to this. Stay tuned.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war, ensuring the station's survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied. Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe La Republic have succeeded. This is about Ambazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia, donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Good evening, Barrister Fru. Good evening, Barrister Mbeseha. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining this important broadcast. It's another year again, another February has come, while the ANSC, in collaboration with the Ambazonian State Army, is ensuring that the law of the nation of Ambazonia is respected to the letter by ensuring a nationwide or 3-day nationwide lockdown. We have a duty to educate the world while we are locking down the entire nation. We have a duty to educate our people to understand that we're not just trying to enslave them or to put them in the houses for 3 days, but because we think that the time has come, and this is the time when the rights of the people of the Southern Cameroons would have to be respected stricto sensu. I begin with you, Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha, as you greet the people. Good evening once again and welcome.
Thank you, Paddy. Thank you for another Saturday. Dear Ambazonians at home and abroad, everywhere in the world, welcome to Ambazonia this week. We are here once again and to talk about 11th of February, which is the day that we were enslaved, that the conspiracy, the international conspiracy from the United Nations rendered us helpless by instituting the so-called plebiscite of 11th of February 1961. So that is what we'll be talking about, and we hope that we'll be able to bring a lot of clarity to this issue. Thank you.
Amazing. Barrister Mbeseha, please.
Thank you, Paddy. Thank everybody. Thank viewers. Once more, we are here, most importantly, to talk about 11th February. 11th February is a day in history, positive or negative. It's important. We hope that our contribution today will help our people, Ambazonians in particular, and Cameroonians at large, including the world, to understand what the history is all about. History is not what you like. History is not an invention of the present. It's a codification of the past. And so we hope that our contribution will help to clarify what has become so-called National Youth Day in Cameroon. Not in Ambazonia. National Youth Day. How they came about this? Why? Over to you.
Now, before we even get into having this discussion, I want us to look at something very closely. This is La République du Cameroon trying to organize 11 February ahead of time. The images you're seeing are images gotten around the prison in Bengui. You know, my mom is from Bengui. And so I know this particular place very well. It's not it's not far from the prisons in Bengui. So you have military men have gone to schools, mobilized kids, most of them not putting on uniforms. These were things when we were young. We had to put on very white canvas and we got our canvases very, 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 very close and had real celebrations. Out of ignorance, we were largely celebrating. All across Ambazonia, we were celebrating. So you have Lele L'Afrique is mobilizing the DOs and SDOs and whatever they have there. And we have intelligence that these guys are doing everything to have 11 February celebrated clandestinely. My question to the both of you, and I will begin with you, Barrister Fru, is before we get into the legal standing of Ambazonia's liberation movement, where 11 February discussions were coming, what took place? Why is Cameroon so desperate that they will kill to ensure? Why do you think, let us, even if it were hypothetical, what do you think could be their calculation that they must celebrate this day? Or what significance does it mean to them? They want to enforce their military celebrations during 20th May and 11 February. Why is Cameroon so desperate to have to celebrate this day, even when the people have rejected? They continue to manipulate children, put their lives at risk, promise to dismiss teachers, just so they can have this day celebrated. Barrister Fru, please.
Paddy, that is a very difficult question because I've never been able to understand why La République du Cameroon takes 11 February so important. They said Poncha started 11 February by celebrating what we used to call in those days Empire Day on 11th of February. Before this so-called unification or reunification with La République du Cameroon, our Empire Day was in I think it was 25th of October from the British colonial era. It was Empire Day. I don't know, maybe Foncha at the time when we had no celebration, we were not aware of what kind of celebration we were doing every year. Decided in 1966, is it 66 or 65? I think it's 66, to organize the Empire Day on 11th of February. La République du Cameroon picked it up and said, okay, we will not turn it into a youth day. Ha! And since then, they have been trying to ram this thing down our throat. And they know, like everybody else knows, that 11 February was not a good day for us. Because 11 February was the day that we were sold by the British to the French in the United Nations, claiming that we were economically not viable. Because I have never been able to understand how they arrived at that assertion, knowing that the Cameroon Development, the Commonwealth Development Corporation, with other economic activities in the southern Cameroon, were actually feeding the northern Cameroon. The British were taking part of our resources and managing northern Cameroon. How can they now go to the United Nations and tell the United Nations that we were not economically viable and that there should be a plebiscite that will allow us to choose between Nigeria and Cameroon? That is where it is aching. I've not been able to understand why La République du Cameroon, they are using our children. They come and they are forcing people, threatening people to celebrate 11 February. I don't know why, Paddy. That's all I can say because I've never been able to understand. What is the importance of 11 February for La République du Cameroon? I'm talking about La République du Cameroon as it then was and it is now. What is the importance? We don't know. Maybe they have a reason or they want to show the world that they are in control of our territory. That is why they're doing this. I believe that is the modus operandi, to show the world that they are in control of us. And that normalcy has returned and that our people will celebrate a day like this. And they go forcing children, bring children out. Look at what is going on in Bangui. Why Bangui? They want to celebrate 11 February before 11 February, or what is this? They call it a launching of the Youth Week or what? I don't know.
And so they're going to flash out these images to tell the world that normalcy is returning and that they are in control.
That is what it is.
Definitely,
that is what I think it is.
That could probably be their thinking. Barrister Mbeseha, please.
Thank you, Paddy. I think there's so much confusion about what Yaoundé is trying to do, but there's no confusion in history, because historical facts are very, very heady. They don't change facts. Let me just, if you give me a bit of time, let me go back so that we might understand where we're coming from. Barrister Nsoh has talked about Empire Day. When we were under the British, we joined the British in celebrating the British Empire Day. But something happened to us. We celebrated as a colony, mostly under Nigeria, because we've been attached to Nigeria.
But Mbeseha, do you want to just sit a little bit up so that we can see you clearly? Yeah, maybe you want to
see me
come a
now?
little bit in front and visualize yourself.
Is that okay?
This makes
And we
it
can hear
much
you now
better.
better.
So, we've
This
been
makes it
attached
much
to
better.
Nigeria from 1919. We've been attached to Nigeria. So we celebrated the Empire Day as part of the British Empire under the Nigerian colony of Nigeria under Britain. But fast forward, something happened that all of us remember. In 1953, the 13 representatives of Southern Cameroon walked out of the Enugu House. In history, that was an act of rebellion, a rebellion against the status quo, against calling Southern Cameroon part of Eastern Nigeria. After that rebellion, something happened on the 26th of October, 1954. On the 26th of October 1954, the British House of Commons, the British legislature, officially created the Southern Cameroon as a semi-autonomous region. 26 December 1954, they gave us it officially because what had happened was never legalized. The rebellion in 1953, walking out, was not yet legal. So on the 26th of October, they passed a bill in the British Parliament that successfully created Southern Cameroon as a semi-autonomous region with a judiciary, with a legislature. And so we started celebrating 26 October as our Empire Day, which would soon turn into our National Day. So 26 October was the most important date as far as our decolonization was concerned. That was the beginning of the decolonization. The House of Chiefs, the House of Assembly, the Justice Department, they all issued out of the 26 October legislation. For example, in terms of the judiciary, after that, a few months after that, they passed through the British Parliament that dealt with the justice, that dealt with the justice system in Southern Cameroon, which they called the 1955 Southern Cameroon High Court Law. That's what the common law today. That has led us into this struggle. So, 19 October 26 became that important. And then Funchal declared a government, which then transformed that 26 October into Southern Cameroon National Day. And then fast forward in 1950, they started this talk of plebiscite. We all know that was bad. We didn't like it. None of us liked the plebiscite. Remember the Manfred Conference and all those conferences. We didn't like it. But it was imposed on us. And people went out on the 11th of February to vote for the plebiscite. It was clear. The reason for voting, it was understood and in writing that if we voted yes in the plebiscite of 11th February, we were going to form a new country come October 1st, 1961, with the Republic du Cameroon. We're going to be independent and create a new country, not called the Republic du Cameroon, not called Southern Cameroon, but a new entity in Africa called the Federal Republic of Cameroon, the bilingual Federal Republic of Cameroon. That was the reason, the letter of 11 February. Again, we didn't like it, but that is what was imposed on us. And so we went forward to vote on the 11th of February and had the result. When they had the result that we were joining East Cameroon, Republic of Cameroon, to create a new nation, the French government came back. They said, okay, now we have ceased to be a colonial territory, to be governed by the October 26 British law. We assume henceforth to become an independent territory. So let us change our national day to some date that reflects our current history. They were now faced with two dates, 11 February and 1st October, the date that we were supposed to become independent by creating a new country. And so faced with these two dates, they said, okay, that our national day should then be 1st October, the day that we were effectively independent. But what do we make of 11 February? They said, let us call this 11 February, it was 1962. Let us call this 11 February the Youth Day. Why the Youth Day? They argued. It was the Youth Day because they believed that a new nation they were going to build was going to depend on the youth, the new generation to come. And so the French government called it the Youth Day, 11 February. And they believed that that day would be the foundation of the youth. The youth would take over the country, not physically only, intellectually and otherwise. They coined the word Youth Day. It was supposed to be a day of celebration, football, dancing by the youths in primary schools. It actually started in 1962. What was Cameroon doing? Cameroon was at the time fighting to regain northern Cameroon. Remember that on 11 February there were two plebiscites, one in northern Cameroon, one in southern Cameroon. They lost Cameroon and they went to The Hague to fight the result of the plebiscite in order to regain northern Cameroon. That lasted from 1962 to 1964. They lost it. The Republic of Cameroon lost it. And from 1964 to 1965 and 66, they considered 11 February a day of mourning in their own history. Mourning what? Mourning the loss of northern Cameroon. While southern Cameroon was celebrating its Youth Day, we do believe that the Youth Day, the youth were going to take control. And so what happened then? 1964 in particular, they celebrated it. I just said, well, what does it look like? They started noticing what was happening. They said, let us send observers to go and see what was going on. In 1966, 65, 66, Ahiju sent a delegation, two delegations, to come watch how the Youth Day is celebrated. And they came to Buea at his recorded dial that at the end of the 1965-66 celebration, Frontier organized a state party of 500 people, the Prime Minister's Lodge in Buea. That included guests from Ahijo's delegation who came to observe what 11 February was all about, what the Youth Day was all about. And so once they observed that, they went back to Yaoundé and said, well, these people have something serious to offer. Why don't we adopt the Youth Day, a national day? And so in 1996 now, I just say, okay, let us expand this Youth Day to Cameroon. But the fourth thing is that the celebration without 1st October celebration. 11 February was the foundation for 1st October. That was supposed to be the day of independence for Southern Cameroon, one. And the beginning of the bilingual Federal Republic of Cameroon in Africa. Now, having taken away October 1st, which was Southern Cameroon National Day, 11 February cannot stand on its own. There's just no way it cannot stand on its own. Because 11 February was created based on the promises that were on the ballot. You will vote to become independent on the 1st of October by joining a country called the Federal Republic. That would be a national day. In fact, that would have been the National Day of Cameroon. But it was the Southern Cameroon National Day because we were becoming independent on 1st of October. And at the same time, creating a completely new nation called the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Now, after having killed 1st October, which today in Cameroon, it's a crime to stand out even on that day to celebrate. 11 February cannot stand on its own. It cannot stand in. And they don't realize that. They cannot stay in isolation. That's why this manipulation. They want to maintain the day 11 February by force. That's why they see them do anywhere in Ambazonia. Without telling the people that this 11 February ushered the day for independence of the South, which was October 1st. You find them doing that in Bengi, they were doing it in Manfred, they were doing it all Ambazonia. And not doing in Samilima, in Garawa, in Bolova, in Bafusam. They say, well, these are they now. And so history is not what you like I said. Heady. These are the bare facts. Again, after having abolished 1st October, after having abolished the state that 1st October was supposed to create, the Federal Republic of Cameroon, the bilingual Federal Republic of Cameroon. After having abolished it, 11 February cannot and should never stand strong. It is a falsehood now. It is thinking of something in the youth.
So, Mr. Mbeseha, if I understand you very well, I'm very happy with the way you've gone deep down into the roots and crux of the matter. If I understand you very well right now, for Cameroon, ensuring that against all odds, this day is celebrated is simply a usurpation. It's simply an act for them to like, okay, we have absorbed these people, we own them, we control them. And in fact, also to taint the real significance of that day. Because I feel like the word Youth Day, avoiding all the other words the both of you have called Empire Day, Plebiscite, there are some who call it Plebiscite Day, is a way of actually blurring the historical significance of this day in the minds of the youths that are celebrating it. And we grew up celebrating it without asking that question. So if I understand you, I get it that Cameroon is simply just staying. So we're talking to all those who are watching us at the home front right now, especially those in the southern Cameroon who are celebrating this day. You're actually celebrating the day, or you are celebrating your recolonization. You're actually applauding Cameroon for keeping you under occupation, a belligerent occupation of that matter, and for denying you to become what you are supposed to be. Barrister Fru, maybe you want to make a comment there before we move forward, because I want us to even get broader with this conversation, get into the legalities of it. Maybe you want to add a comment based on what Barrister Mbeseha
said. I think that the youth of Ambazonia need to be taught the historical significance of 11th of February, so that they know exactly how we were recolonized by La République, by the French, so to speak. Because this conspiracy started at the United Nations in violation of Resolution 1514, which mandated the trusted the dictatorship authorities to prepare us for independence. It did not say that we should join another country. You should arrange and join us to have independence. And how did they come about what they call the two alternatives? It was a conspiracy hatched in the United Nations by the French and the British. And the British actually, from what we're hearing, the British actually sold Southern Cameroon to the French for £20,000, for 20 million pounds. And that's why de Gaulle, every time he makes a speech, he will thank the Queen for the gift. Why will we an object of a gift to anybody? The Decolonization Committee deliberated and passed a resolution mandating the governing authorities of all these colonized territories to prepare them for independence without consideration of economic viability or any other consideration was kept aside. Prepare these people for self-governance, for independence. How did the two alternatives come about? In our case, and it's the only case in the world that the United Nations forced two trust territories, Class B trust territories, to be brought together for independence. I don't understand it. To form a new country. What kind of country? All right, they did it. But in April, they took a resolution, another 1608, telling these people, no, that territory that you see like that is independent, but you have to come together and put together an agreement that would allow the two of you to govern yourself, the policies that would be applied during that governance. Hey, nothing took place. So are we really decolonized? No. The significance of 11 February, I think that it should be, when the time comes, we'll put it in the curriculum of these young people so that they understand. Because when we say lockdown for these 3 days, some of these misguided youths that have been misguided by their parents will tend to think that we want to rob them of the only day that they have to celebrate. That is not the case.
Understanding. And I think that's why this program is so important, because Mbeseha particularly has gone deep to educate. We're going to be rebroadcasting this program to those of you at the home front, as you'll be locked down for 3 days so that you can watch. Our hope is that as you watch it, you get that excitement that there are people who are thinking about the you of today, the you of tomorrow, and even your progeny. And then that joy that there are some people who have opted to stand against fraud. Because this whole celebration is a manifestation of fraud. And
it's a celebration of fraud.
Yes.
Celebration of fraud.
Celebration of fraud. And we have to stand against it. It starts by resisting. There are days you have been in the house or you are unable to go out for more. And so they're asking you to just stay home for 3 days. To tell the colonial officials that, hey, we are no longer fools. We are no longer Anglo-fools, as you may want to call it. So we're moving forward into something very important. And I choose to call that, Barrister Mbeseha, the legal argument in international law for the independence. You started, both of you have been crashing the peripheries of it, giving snippets of the legal standing, the legal argument of Ambazonia's independence in international law, because it is intricately linked with the discussion of today. And I'll begin with you, Barrister Fru, with that before we come to Barrister Mbeseha. As a lawyer that you are, explicitly tell us, what is the legal standing of this nation Ambazonia in international law? What's the legal argument? Why do we think that we are being deprived of our independence? And why are we dictating what we want in our country because we feel that we are totally different? Cameroon is claiming today to the youths in the both Cameroons that we are one, and that separatists, they even call us the terrorists, are trying to destroy their country. So it's important that as the youths are watching us, they get to understand who is saying the truth and who is lying. I begin with you, Barrister Fru.
Let's start from the beginning. Because I have heard this argument from La République of Cameroon.
Please, do you want to check your sound? I cannot get your sound.
I'm getting him.
I can't get your sound. Did you mute your sound or something?
Why are you not getting me? Can you get me now?
Let's be sure about that. Do you want to speak now?
Can you get me, Paddy? Can you get me?
No, I still can't get your sound. Okay, maybe you want to log out and log in so that we now get Barrister. Let's get Barrister Mbeseha to speak.
Yeah, Paddy,
Barrister Mbeseha, please go ahead.
Paddy, something is wrong with your connection. I'm getting him.
Barrister Mbeseha, can you hear me?
I'm getting you, but you're not getting us.
You are not getting
so
us.
Shocking.
You are the one
that I cannot
the problem is from your
Barrister
end.
Mbeseha's sound.
Yeah, the connection
it's coming from your end, Paddy.
I'm getting Barrister Nsoh.
Okay, go right ahead, Barrister Mbeseha. Let me verify to see what's happening here.
Are you getting me now? Can you hear me?
Go right ahead.
He cannot get you. Barrister Mbeseha, Paddy cannot get you.
Okay, go.
Are you getting me now?
Yeah, that's good. Everything, that's good. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you get me too?
Yeah, Barrister Fru, go ahead. I think your sound is okay. I think the studio is having some issues for people.
Okay.
Go right ahead, please.
The sounds
yeah, Barrister Fru, go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that let's start from the beginning. I've heard this argument from La République du Cameroon apologists talking about we were one under the Germans. The Germans did not colonize us. They had a territory. That was long before World War I. So the Germans were beaten in World War I and all their territories in Africa, which were all called Cameroon, included the Congo, the Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, East Cameroon, all of us were under the German occupation. When they lost the war, the territories were partitioned between the French and the British, who were victorious in the World War I, and that is how we got to be under the British and La République du Cameroun under the French. The actual existence of the state in Africa is taken from independence. I don't know why even intellectuals in La République du Cameroun don't know that you had no legal existence until you are independent. They had theirs in 1960. We had ours in 1961. The question of the plebiscite was in violation of a resolution taken by the General Assembly after a debate in the decolonization committee. They placed that resolution before the General Assembly and they voted that all those colonies should be prepared for independence. I think it's resolution 1614. Prepare them for independence, irrespective of their economic condition or God knows what. Instead of doing that, the British thought that we were going to, when they said that, they developed two alternatives in the United Nations, hoping that we will go and join Nigeria. But we couldn't join Nigeria because of the attitude of the Igbos. And they coined this thing either Nigeria or Cameroon. Why us? Why us? We were a Class B trust territory, just like La République du Cameroun. The French gave La République du Cameroun their independence. Why did the French refuse to give us our own? That's the first thing. That's why it was a fraud to have asked to have conducted that plebiscite, and the plebiscite itself was meant to sound an opinion. It wasn't binding as such. It was an opinion. I repeat myself, it was an opinion. And the opinion was that, okay, we would prefer La République du Cameroun. The United Nations was still not satisfied that something has taken place. When they needed to concretize, that was the raison d'etre of 1608. of the 21st of April 1961. And on that resolution, we were granted independence by joining. And in that same resolution, the conditions of joining were given, that we were supposed to enter into some kind of agreement as to how the territories will be governed, the policies that will be applied on both sides. And a new country was supposed to be the one called, like my senior colleague just called it, the Federal Republic of Cameroon. What happened? Nothing happened after that. Since the La Republic of Cameroon and the French voted against it, and all the French African countries that France had colonized voted against it except Mali. Mali was the only country that voted for our independence. La Republic of Cameroon did not vote. The French territories did not vote. France itself did not vote. So if they refused to vote for us, why were we forced into this union with them? That is a legal question that a lot of legal scholars have not been able to decipher. Up to now, there has been no treaty or no agreement or no agreement between La Republic of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroon as to how the Federal Republic of Cameroon was supposed to be managed, to be governed. And where are we? I would argue very strongly that we were never decolonized, that we had independence. We will take that first part of 1608. But paragraph 5 was never applied. And that paragraph 5 is lifted directly from the Charter of the United Nations in its Article 102. Meaning that the United Nations saw us as a state of its own and saw La Republic as a state of their own. These two states will come together to make a new country. Hey, was that country made? I'll argue no. No. So what is all this fuss about we being part of La Republic of Cameroon? We were never part of La Republic of Cameroon because there was no agreement between the two parties that were supposed to. In fact, this conference was supposed to take place between the government of the Southern Cameroon and the government of La Republic of Cameroon and the United Kingdom and the United Nations. Where was the United Nation? Where was the United Kingdom? It was an international conspiracy between the French and the British to keep us in perpetual servitude under La Republic of Cameroon.
You see, Barrister Mbeseha.
Why do we celebrate? Why do we celebrate? We're not even supposed to celebrate 11th February because it was a fraud orchestrated on our people. We were supposed to have been prepared for self-governance. We were already self-governing ourselves from the British. The British gave us self-governance, but they were supposed to now concretize that with the resolution from the General Assembly of the United Nations, but they didn't. So it was a fraud.
I like the way what you have just. I like what you have just said now, and I like to re-echo that so that people listen to it. I would think that Foncha even trying to put some significance on that day was a part of his civility. He was a son, and he was looking forward to take a nation forward. And you're correct. You're very correct to say we look at the circumstances that took place before, during, and after that day. We should, as Ambazonians, be thinking about what is called a plebiscite day or whatever with a frowning face. Now, I'm coming to you, Barrister Mbeseha. Changes took place in the world that changed the dynamic of nations. We have seen, because I want us to focus a little bit more on the legal existence of Southern Cameroons, let's say from December 13, 1947, right up to the 1st of October 1961. That's why I'm saying that we need to establish that legal standing of the fact that the Southern Cameroons was a totally separate nation. I know we are rushing to get into where the failed union came in, but I want us to establish the fact that the Southern Cameroons existed as a nation recognized under international law, separate from La République du Cameroon, and in no way can the argument that the German Cameroon is a reunification of a German Cameroon should come into the picture. So I'm bringing that to you now, Barrister Mbeseha. What is the legal existence? You may want to explain that to us. I know you have a very sound knowledge on that. That legal existence of the Southern Cameroons from, okay, because this is what happened. I remember UN Resolution 16, UN Resolution 63 to 11 actually dissolve the mandate system of the defunct League of Nations into what now existed, the United Nations Organization. So that is the education I think those watching us deserve to know. Please talk to us, Barrister Mbeseha.
Right, Paddy, I think the history is long and complex. If we're not careful, when we analyze them, we'll get confused. But let me just answer your question. See, as Nsoh says, the fact is this is a fact. There was something called German Cameroon, spelled with K. That's a fact, a historical fact. There was a German Cameroon. But that entity called German Cameroon ceased to exist at the end of the First World War, when Germany lost all its colonies, including German Cameroon. What became of German Cameroon after the First World War was an international territory, first under the League of Nations and later on under the United Nations from 1946. That's a fact. And so, fast forward, because we're talking about 11 February, just try to be a little bit centralized on what we're saying. In 1946, to answer your question, when the United Nations was formed in 1945, they transformed all the League of Nations territories into what they call UN Trust Territories. UN Trust Territories to be administered under the new world organization called the United Nations. And under United Nations newly created organization in 1945, they agreed, the United Nations, that body agreed to entrust all those territories into the hands of different administrators with the sole purpose of bringing them, each of the entrusted territories, to full independence or self-governance as the case might be. All this was contained in the 1946 Trust Agreement, the agreement of 13 December 1946. France signed it with the territory it took, most importantly, East Cameroon. Britain signed it with the territory they took, most importantly, British Cameroons. It was called British Cameroons. And so they had the duty, each, to bring up each of those territories into full independence. There was no provision in the 1946 agreement that any of those territories could ever come back. We were not the only ones. Tanganyika, which is today Tanzania, was one of them. Togo, which is today the Republic of Togo, was one of them. Eritrea was one of them. Namibia was one of them. So there were up to 13 of such territories. And so they were supposed to be brought up as independent states, each, including the one under Britain, the Southern Cameroon, and one under France, which is what they call the Republic of Cameroon. The French did their best. They brought up their own territory into full independence on 1st of January 1960. Whether they like the independence or not, the terms of independence is not what we're talking here. But they granted them independence on 1st of January 1960 without consideration of any other territory. That would have included British Cameroon. That would have included territories that were once German Cameroon, then they became Central African Republic, they became Gabon, they became another thing else. And so they gave them the independence. That's the fact. So there was no idea of reuniting the territories. And came 1961, which we're talking about, when they purportedly imposed this plebiscite. I've said earlier that we did not want it, but it was imposed on us. And so we voted unwillingly to join them. Northern Cameroon voted unwillingly to join Nigeria. And so the Republic of Cameroon, to test its ability to say that there was a German Cameroon, they went to The Hague to challenge the idea that Northern Cameroon, that was part of the German Cameroon, had joined Nigeria. And they lost. So the idea of a German Cameroon was defeated there in the International Court of Justice at The Hague. So the notion that today they are talking of something they call German Cameroon coming together is farce. It doesn't exist anywhere legally. So legally, it does not exist. Well, let us go to 11 February, which is the subject of our discussion. See, in agreements in general, agreements are two forms of agreement: oral agreements and written agreements. We didn't like the 11 February plebiscite, but it was imposed on us. But it was imposed on us by the international community, that's the United Nations. As illegal as it was imposed on us. But it was not a blank check. It was imposed on us based on promises made publicly and in writing by the parties. The Republic of Cameroon had gone to the United Nations in 1959, Ahidjo in person, and testified that if these people join us, if they voted to join us, we will be going to form a new country, everybody independent to manage your own affairs. This was understood by the United Nations that this so-called plebiscite, as illegal as we thought it was going to produce, if we joined those people, was going to produce a new nation as defined by the United Nations, where the majority will not agree to subject the minority. That was Ahidjo's undertaking publicly and in writing. And so we live in a world where people have to respect their own words. They have to respect what you say publicly and privately. And what did they do? They passed Resolution 1608, which, among other things in paragraph 5, said that they should meet in a tripartite form for the parties to agree the manner by which they were going to enforce the agreed intentions. The agreed intentions was to form a federation of two states equal in status. 1608 did not define that. They said they should meet and agree on the fine prints of how to implement the agreed intentions that had been declared at the United Nations prior to the plebiscite. That's the purpose of Resolution 1608. 5. Did they ever meet to do that? No. They never did that. You have heard about something they always call here the Fumban Conference, Constitutional Conference. And I've tried to say it many times before. What happened in Fumban was never a constitutional conference. It was never one. It was what I call in my own language a meet and greet occasion. Because in Fumban, it didn't even comply with the Resolution 16085. It was not a tripartite. It was a two-party thing. The delegation from Southern Cameroon, 50 people. The delegation from East Cameroon, 12 people. But they never met to discuss the Constitution. They discussed nothing together in the Constitution. Again, I've said here, they met on the first day, 17th of November No, July, 17th of July, 1961. And the other thing they did jointly was a joint opening session where Ahijo delivered a speech, Foncha delivered a speech, Ndere delivered a speech. And that was the end of it. They never met again to discuss any other thing. The next 3-4 days were dedicated to Foncha's delegation looking at what they had sent to them. They could have met in Buea. They could have met in Bamenda to look at that document. They did not need to go to Fumba. They discussed among themselves, not with Yaoundé. And again, I've said this before. See, to show the level of their machinations right there, after the opening session at 11 on the 17th, the first full session to look at the proposed amendment by Cameroon was held 3 hours after at 2:45, still in Fumba, exclusively for Foncha's delegation. And they gave him that document, that delegational document. This is a document we proposed to be the Constitution. Look at it and tell us what you feel now. They took it the first minute. Article 1 of that document stated there shall be a Federal Republic of Cameroon comprising Southern Cameroon and Republic of Cameroon. Article 1B, this federation shall be one and indivisible. They stopped there. That was Article 1. They heard that article. They had among them their own lawyers and intellectuals, including Mr. Smith, who was the Attorney General. They debated Article 1 and concluded that there was nothing to call one and indivisible. They rejected it. They rejected the notion one and indivisible right there on the 17th of July, 1961. And Ahijo agreed with them when he came back on the 21st for the closing session. He made a public speech that because of the resistance by our brothers, Anglophones call them, to the word one and indivisible, we agreed that the thing should simply be dropped. And so they dropped that nonsense of one and indivisible. You don't find it in the Federal Constitution anywhere. It didn't feature there. And so that is the legal aspect of it. So it defeats the idea of the so-called German Cameroon, which you are trying to say there. It was defeated there. But their bad faith had already manifested by the notion of one indivisible, which they proposed at that time. It didn't work. But today it is a notion. Because 10 years after that, they brought it back in 1972. It features there. It features in their constitution of 1972, 1996, 1984. How did they come about it is fraud, absolute fraud. And so the question you might want to know, or we should like to know, is why this? Because we're dealing with 11th February. It is a manipulation, a fraud being orchestrated in public. Nobody defined it better than Gojidinka, where he stated that in 1984, when the Republic went back to its name, the Republic of Cameroon, that seceded from the so-called Federation. It has ceased to exist. If the Federation of 1961 ceases to exist, which Federation was based on the plebiscite of 11 February, people are agreed to join it. If it has ceased to exist, what's the legal reason for 11 February celebration? There's no legal foundation.
Paddy
exists. I guess
Paddy.
This
you're going to come. You come in by some visa. You have time.
I guess this explains the legal point that you want to understand. And I can sit here emphatically.
But basically, what you have just said, you have not only explained to the world and to Ambazonians watching us today the legalities and fraud that took us to where we are today. You have also demonstrated a character of a people that will betray and then choose to brutalize and create mayhem the kind of et puis vous allez faire quoi attitude. So Ayijo, I'm going to speech of Ayijo during that occasion before I give the mic to Barrister Fru so that he can just crown the discussion.
No, I just wanted to add the one of the fraud that was suppressed. We have left that out. That so-called federal constitution that everybody is talking about was another fraud perpetrated on the Southern Cameroons. It was debated and voted in East Cameroon and promulgated into law in East Cameroon on the 1st of September 1961, when we were still under the British. Ahijo brought it to Fumban and rammed it down Foncha's throat. Foncha wanted a few days, nothing. That constitution should have gone also to the parliament of the Southern Cameroon for ratification. It did not. How can they be applying a law on the Southern Cameroons that was voted and promulgated on the 1st of September 1961, that is retroactively apply it to the Southern Cameroons? We were not there at that time with them. That law was voted when we were still under the British. I'm talking about that their constitution, the so-called federal constitution, which they now they hang on it and they forget that they themselves violated Article 47. That is another fraud that was operated on the Southern Cameroon by La Republic of Cameroon, called East Cameroon in those days. That so-called federal constitution was neither there, here, nor there. It wasn't a law binding the two parties. It wasn't. How come it was being applied on the Southern Cameroons? That is another fraud, coupled with the fraud of 11 February. That's what I wanted to add, Paddy.
Paddy, I had one sentence to say. Paddy, I wanted to say.
Go ahead,
for those people, Francophones and Anglophones, who have stupidly or ignorantly talked about the Fumban Constitutional Conference, I say emphatically it did not exist. Because if you take the 1961 so-called Federal Constitution, their constitution, Francophones, they are fond of view. There is nowhere mentioned in that constitution that they had considered, nothing mentioned there about the Fumban Conference. They would have said, for example, considering the agreements in Fumban, it will come out with this constitution. There is no Fumban mentioned there as the basis of the so-called 1961 Federation. It's a fraud, an absolute fraud, legally not tenable. And so, again, I was going to say that I have known friends, Ambazonians, who were graduates, who taught history in Cameroon, and were expelled from Cameroon for teaching the history of Southern Cameroon. When about the United States, they left Cameroon on exile for teaching Cameroonian youths that are today celebrating the Youth Day, the royal history of Cameroon. And so, where is this history? And I wanted to learn with this. We have seen this machination going on with the Cameroon government attempting, I think they're doing it right now, to appoint its own historians to write the Cameroon history the way they want. I don't know any country in the world that the government writes its history. History is the question of research by individuals. Let historians research, write what they can, the books are there, and people will find what is credible. But once the government ventures to the academia, to the intellectual dishonesty of asking people to write the history the way they want, what else can we say other than absolute fraud, absolute manipulation? What is wrong with the history that is existing, that you are trying to write the one that you want? That's an open question which every intellectual is able to answer. Over to you.
That's quite amazing right there. So, Barrister Fru, I'm bringing the microphone back to you so that you talk, and then I want people to actually listen to John Foncha himself expressing how he felt, the way he was treated by the French Cameroon president and the states at the time. But you've heard the gravitas of this conversation and the depth of the explanation that Barrister Mbeseha explained to us. The betrayal, the deception, the brutality that is in motion, and the arguments of reunification, which we know is non-existent. Talking to the youths that are listening to you today as a legal mind, what should be their approach in conserving this information and probably absorbing it? By Fru.
Yes, Paddy. Our youths of today should be taught our history from before from the Manfred Conference right up to 1972. They should be taught that history. And from 1972 to 1984, that a lot of La Republic finished is the process of assimilation, the process of enslaving us. How do they do that? Let me start from the beginning. Again, if La Republic had its independence in 1960, 1st of January, that was when they existed as a country, as a state of its own. They cannot lay claims to any state before that or after that. Number two, the Southern Cameroon had its independence through Resolution 1608 in 1961, 1st of October. That is when the Southern Cameroon became a state. And by that same document, Southern Cameroon was supposed to join the already existing state of La Republique du Cameroon to form a country, a new country. Our people should be meant to understand that. But that joining did not take place because that resolution in its application was never respected, because the French and its acolytes voted against it and they blocked all implementation of that resolution. Our children should be made to understand that they were never and had never and will never be part of La Republique du Cameroon. They should know this from the records and from teaching history. We have teachers who are teaching history and they are teaching jargon instead of history. You take a Betty man who happened for some reason found himself growing up in Boya and being educated in the English part of Cameroon, called Ngo, what is Professor Ngo, whatever Ngo is, giving a complete different narrative of the Cameroon history, at least as it concerns the Southern Cameroons. Our children are supposed to be taught, and our teachers are supposed to write history and teach our children about what has happened to us from the time that the British sold us on the 11th of February up to today, and why the British are silent. Why are the British burying their head in the sand? Our children should know and should take note that the British are the first enemies of the Southern Cameroon. And then the French, along with its acolytes, La Republique du Cameroon, they are our enemies today because they have killed our people. But they should know that we were never part of La Republique du Cameroon. Southern Cameroons never had anything to do with La Republique du Cameroon. They would never join La Republique du Cameroon with any kind of political activity or political decisions taken by our political leaders led by, first by Endele and second by Foncha. None of them took a decision to have us join La République du Cameroon until today. And that we have a duty not to pass this on to our children. That's why the children grow up now should know, so that they teach it to their own children. Cameroon, Southern Cameroon history, it's standing on its own, with its own intricacies, with its own beginnings, and what is happening to them up to today. Our children should be taught to know that we have paid the ultimate price to have this country reinstalled for them. And this 2025 is a crucial year that we must deliver. We must find a way to deliver this nation to our children. Because we're not talking for ourselves, but Mbeseha and myself, we're on the other side of the limbo. Maybe Paddy, you will see the new country. We don't know. So our children must be taught this from primary school, through secondary school, and through high school, and through the university, so that they know. Because some children are still confused because their parents are traitors. Their parents are blacklegs, and they don't want to tell them the truth about the Southern Cameroons. That is where our history is. That is where, and our history is tied to our legal history, our political history, our mere existence on this planet Earth. And there's nobody born in La République du Cameroon as with Ambazonian parents think that they were part of La République du Cameroon during the German days, because German days never existed. It was a German occupation. It was not a country. There was never any country called the German Cameroon or German this and that. All of them, including Gabon, Central African Republic, and all the others. Our children should be made to know that the Germans have not no role in playing to bring us to independence for us to have a country like the Southern Cameroons.
So according to this conversation we've had, we've all established something very important, which I'd like to reiterate. We've established that when the German protectorate was abolished and the defunct League of Nations was totally eradicated, the Southern Cameroons had a period where they existed and had international status as a nation within international boundaries. And there is no justifiable, which is where I want us to get to another important part of the conversation. There is no justifiable legal process that has dissolved the internationally recognized boundaries of the Southern Cameroons. So before we get into that, I'm coming to you, Barrister Mbeseha. Before we get into that, I want us to listen to three patriots of the Southern Cameroons, three different narratives that are expressing the frustrations, the kind of dissatisfaction and the processes that have led us to this point. First of all, we'll listen to the former Prime Minister, John Nsoh Foncha. And then we'll listen to Fon Goji Dinka. And then we'll listen to Molanjo Litumbe, so that I can set a foundation that we'll write on to talk on this phase before we move into the lockdown and why Ambazonia must be locked and very locked for 3 days. Let's hear him.
That using the two alternatives, he had administrative authority, he had the economic development in his own hands, and of course security in general was going to be a matter for which could be discussed, you see, to make it both for the federal government, or what we call concurrent. That is to say, the Prime Minister of the Southern Cameroon was going to be in charge of the police, and the army could be national, territorial. We didn't think of the gendarme to be extended in the Southern Cameroon for any reason. It was because when there was no constitution, that he managed to send the gendarme in the Southern Cameroon, and gradually now posting all this, they are his obedient troops. They are his obedient civil servants, and they can do anything. They are protected by him, so anything could happen.
When did the gendarmes come into West Cameroon? Into Southern Cameroon?
Let's say as soon as the British troops left. You know, the British trained a mobile wing, which not many at all. So the gendarme came to help the mobile wing and to man some of the places. And when they came, the mobile wing was holding some part of the stations, and they were holding other parts. But they despised the mobile wing, whereas the mobile wing also despised them, because they had no form of military maneuver as they. Most of the terrorists were captured by the mobile wing, Southern Cameroon mobile wing. They combed the frontiers of the Mongo, Santa, and brought out some of the terrorists who were happening there. And of course, it was the Nigerian, from Nigeria, I mean the Nigerian forces which left Nigeria. General like General Tato and others who really did the combing of the frontier without killing. They didn't kill the terrorists. They rounded them up, used them to find out where the others were, treated them well, and then bring peace.
So we actually watching the former Prime Minister of the Southern Cameroons expressing frustrations on some of the things that La République du Cameroon even agreed they were going to do. There was no, first of all, you heard the Prime Minister Frontier actually saying there was no constitution. So it was just a manipulation that got him where he was. So everything Cameroon did, bringing the gendarmes to start doing Calais was an encroachment of a person's international boundary. And by international law, when you encroach into an international boundary, the person that you have occupied their territory has a right. So it's shocking to me how the world is blaming the so-called people they call separatists, because these are some facts that are still hot and alive for many to see. Now I want us to watch for Goji Dinka, who has
before we go to Dinka, Paddy, before we go to Dinka, let me make a comment about what I just heard.
Okay,
let me make a comment about what the former Prime Minister has just said.
Yeah.
The former Prime Minister put himself in this situation because in Fumban, Ndele and Joa and a couple of others told him that they should walk out of that conference. They should not accept any kind of joining with La Republic of Cameroon until they see clearly what is going on. He insisted that okay, now that we're already here, we should give them some time. He got himself in that situation because he's talking about the distribution of functions that never existed on any paper.
Yeah, nobody could have
expected. It's an oral thing discussed with Ayichu, whoever. Huh?
But Mbeseha, I want the both of you to comment on this from a legal standpoint. This probably, Barrister Mbeseha, could have been a blunder. Our discussion here is not to question him, but I'm asking the both of you.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming them. But I'm saying, listen now, Paddy. Listen to me, Paddy.
Cameroon is using it to claim.
It's not a reason. Let me finish. Cameroon brought in gendarmes into the southern Cameroon without any authority, without any reason, without any agreement between the parties. And that shows the bad faith of the French. That shows that the French bought their territory and they occupied it when they wanted. That is what this boils down to. I am not blaming our forefathers because at that time, of course, they might have been limited. But at least it is on record that EML Ndele and Gomjoa and a couple of others who were in that conference had insisted that they should walk out of that conference and refuse.
Even at that, what I just want us to focus on is the fact that no matter the absence of any legal document, there was an encroachment. There was a verbal, somewhat agreement that you were not going to crisscross the responsibility of the mobile wing police. So the Tatars were integrated into their military in dissolution of the mobile wing police. Tatars and the others that came in from Nigeria as the mobile wing police officials ended up becoming colonels and generals in the army. And those were some of the integration.
He used the word terrorist. I don't know who are these terrorists. Bamileke people?
We were talking about terrorists that invaded the land at that time. I think we had to watch all of it to have that understanding. But Mbeseha, I would like to hear your comment on that going forward. But Mbeseha, can you hear me, please?
He's frozen.
Okay,
he's frozen again.
But frozen. I'm going to try to get in touch with him. But before that, let's watch Fongoji Dinka actually, from his own narrative, trying to tell us who we are. Let's listen to him.
Does not regard you as people of Cameroonian nationality. This must be shocking to you. From where 1st of January 1960, the international law recognizes the inhabitants of La République du Cameroun as people of Cameroonian nationality. There can be no Cameroonian nationality outside that La République du Cameroun. Please take very great note of this. If you decide to be using Cameroonian nationality as a flag of convenience, it is because you decide to use it as a flag of convenience. But international law does not regard you as Cameroonians. And the Treaty of Umban, Article 1, goes to spell it out. It states, nationals of the federated state shall become Cameroonian citizens and shall possess Cameroonian nationality. This means when your country, which was then called United Nations Trust Territory of Southern Cameroon under United Kingdom administration. Can you listen? That's how to describe a country. Is that the name of a country? Is that the name of a country? United Nations Trust Territory of Southern Cameroon under United Kingdom administration. That is a whole definition of an area. It's not the name of a country. We are coming to why you are not considered as Cameroonians. This identification by description only determines that you are not. It says that when your country accepts to become a federated state in the Federal Republic of Cameroon, then you acquire the right to become Cameroonian citizens and have Cameroonian nationality. But is your country now a federated state in Federal Republic of Cameroon? Is there a Federal Republic of Cameroon? Is there a Federal Republic of Cameroon? So you acquired Cameroonian nationality only by treaty. And once that treaty is abrogated, you are no longer Cameroonians. That's only logical, isn't it? Then what are you? Eventually, the brilliant scholar came and decided to proclaim the secession law 84/001 of the 4th of February 1984, by which he formalized the secession of what was East Cameroon into La République du Cameroun. By that secession, as you must have heard, last speaker, it opened the way. You see, God moves in a very mysterious way. As long as Ambazonia was in this dubious thing of United Republic of Cameroon, there was a fiction of unity existing, even though in international law it had collapsed. There may be some of you who have done political science. This is the principle of extinction and creation of states. Let's start it over. From the moment Southern Cameroon, as it was called, as a state, joined the République du Cameroun in forming the Federal Republic of Cameroon, under international law, the two states are extinct and the new state created is created. That is to say, there is a creation of a new state and an extinction of the two states that are created. Now, when the treaty that has brought this together collapses, as it did, the Federal Republic of Cameroon becomes extinct. That state is extinct. And automatically and simultaneously, with that extinction, the original states are resuscitated. These are the principles of international law concerning creation and extinction of states. Recently, Paul Biya carried a catechism lesson in Boya. He told the people, I am a Cameroonian. And the people shouted after him, I am a Cameroonian. I was born a Cameroonian. The people shouted after him, I was born a Cameroonian. And I will ever remain a Cameroonian. The people shouted, I will ever remain a Cameroonian. Paul Biya did law in Paris. He knows that under international law, you and myself, Ambazonians, are not Cameroonians. And the treaty that gave you Cameroonian nationality has been abrogated. So it was necessary for him to instill into your subconscious the nationality of Cameroonian in order to enable him to rule a country as a colony under the pretext that it is part of Cameroon. Why did he not carry that catechism in the other side? Why didn't he go to Eboluwa and say, I am a Cameroonian, or Je suis Camerounais? Let us hear. Because the people are Cameroonians under international law. But you who are not Cameroonians must be made to believe that you are Cameroonian, and you are believing that you are Cameroonian, and as a result, you are even participating in the institutions of the République du Cameroon, as if you are like, what you are is that Cameroon Outre-mer, Cameroon overseas. I mean, they themselves call you Cameroon Outre-Mongo. That's what they call you. Why must your own Cameroon be qualified? It is because you are not Cameroonians. And the moment you accept that you are not Cameroonians and decide that you must research your own identity, then we have started a fight. And until then, it's a total waste of time to complain and complain and complain, because nobody outside is going to come and bother about you. If you say you are a minority, there's no country without minority. The United States has several minorities. Nobody can come here and start talking about the United States minority. Quebec is a minority. United Nations can't interfere there. There is no country without minority. But we are not dealing with a minority problem. Article 76 of the UN Charter limits the trusteeship system to only 2 alternatives for a state. You either develop the state to self-government or to independence. This is our story. The UN is under an obligation, a legal obligation, not a moral one, to implement that. We had a system which was the only system where a government could conduct an election and be defeated by the opposition. Dr. Ndele conducted an election that was defeated by Foncha from the opposition. Nowhere has it happened in Africa. Nowhere. To show you that the system was thorough. It was typically British style. Now, they tell us that they voted in a referendum of the 20th May to say that we should be ruled from Yaoundé. And who are you? You go about saying, well, our elders voted in a referendum that we should be ruled as a colony. Where have intelligent human beings, having attained that level of political development, volunteered that a country that was less educated politically, a country of bandits, should come and rule them. Voluntarily, they ask for it to come wipe away their House of Chiefs, House of Parliament, House of Assembly, and crush every other thing there. And you believe that that is what your people did. At the time of that plebiscite vote, or what you call it, referendum vote, it was very interesting to see what happened in the College of Arts in Yaoundé, Bambili, because as always, students are radicals. They made sure there were two papers. One was white, one was black. The black meant no, the white meant yes. And by the time they finished, when they came to pick up the things, the whites were all full on the ground, and inside the box was all black. But what were the results for Bambili? 100% in favor. That is a gigantic fraud, which Ahijo used and said the people had accepted that I should run their lives for them. But we are not even interested in that, because the question, as my brother put to you here, is this: was a referendum mentioned in the Treaty of Fumban as a mode of modifying that treaty? If the answer is yes, then we are condemned to be where we are. If the answer is no, then we'll have a right to revolt against an arbitrary government. It is a government that is illegal, and it is illegal to obey an illegal government. That is the course which God has set us forward, and we are not stepping one step back. We have accepted death, and I don't see what else we have before us, because we are tired of being tossed around. The country and the territory from which you come is rich in every aspect, natural and human resources. that if we can be united, if we understand the cause, there is no question of who is boss and who is follower. And we have a people who are willing, as you must have noticed, unarmed. When I was imprisoned and locked up in a DML, students came out barefisted to face gendarmes. They burnt edifices. In Bangla alone, they raised down the whole gendarme barrack they raised it with fire. Now, you are young men, and time has come for you people to pick up the gun and pursue this fight to a logical conclusion.
So after we're listening to the patriot there, after the elaborate expose suggesting the way forward should be an armed struggle, because he gives the historical review, the blunder by the Bias administration. As an international lawyer from the Columbia University, is a sound person. He tells us to get out of this carnage, we need to take the armed struggle seriously. And this is a statement made 30 years ago. You saw this September 1st. But Mbeseha, I want you to make a brief comment before I bring Fongoji Dinka's own narrative. And then we'll conclude this whole thing and talk about the lockdown. Please. But Mbeseha, please.
I don't know why I just to go on Fongoji Dinka a few minutes ago, but it's a with people, our enemies, our ones. Yeah, one day I listened to Foncha talking there and complaining about his. This was many years after 1961, after he had lost power. One must question where Foncha was dreaming of being. About his arms place. All of us know that arms are the paramilitary. The police are the civil. That's what it is. But where did claim his authority to have his police and so on and so forth? By this time I was talking, he had been in this federation for at least for 5-6 years. Been in the federation. That federation was governed by the federal constitution, what they call the federation. Frontier derived his authority to complain as he comes. The Constitution of 1961, but it provided in Article 5 and 6 the powers of the federal government, which included everything, including the so-called police and even the gendarmes, which Foncha was alleging to be his own forces. What he was claiming had no foundation, even in the legal constitution that was supposed to be the legal document that under which he came under the control of France. And then, if this is Foncha, if he was still his normal person, I think him. What was power in the so-called federal constitution? His power, the power of the states was reserved in Part 9. At 38, if Foncha ever looked at it, he would have just gone to sleep rather than complain. What does 38 that is reserved for the state? Part 9 is titled, Part 9 is titled the Federated States. That's Part 9. Article 38 says, any listed in Article 6, and whose regulation is not specific in trust constitution, law shall be exclusive jurisdiction of the state. Anything which you cannot find in Article 4 and 5, anything. That's what their authority was. They have no authority. Foncha had no authority over his so-called police, or even the power to drive away the so-called gendarmes. Article 4 and 5 and 6 had listed all those things: security, internal and external, and so on, and police. It was the responsibility of the federal. They could bring anything they wanted. This was the open eyes of Funcha, issuing from the so-called 1961 Constitution. Why was he complaining now? I think that his speech there was talking there after and he was now weeping. As Nsoh said, had they even looked at this constitution called West Cameroon House of Assembly, it would have been strongly thrown out without the federated states. So the federated states, by the constitution, had to go fishing whatever thing is not mentioned in Article 5 and 6, and that will become their responsibility. The other thing that was not mentioned there, which is Article 38, is customary court. So the only jurisdiction of Mr. Funcha as a god, the customary court.
Was a customary court.
That's the only thing I put there for you. So complaining about gendarmes, complaining about police, in black, put it in the hands of Agijo. From day one, 1st of October 1961, the constitution that all of us took part in. If Funcha, as the premier, prime minister, had risen up in 1961, 1st October, he said, no, this will not happen. Because they were still under the World Nations. So who was appointed?
Mbeseha, I wish we had all the time. But Mbeseha, can you hear me?
Could not have been appointed.
Yeah, but Mbeseha, we're having issues with your sound because it's cracking a little bit. But I wish we had all the time to really be more elaborate. Yeah, I can hear you now, but it's cracking a little bit.
Yeah, I was just trying to say that I listened to Gojitinka because of time. I think Gojitinka stated the legal position that all of us buy into it.
Yeah.
One bit there too for the so-called federation it does not even do federation. So why is he sitting there about federal institutions to exist? Why?
I think the purpose of this conversation, Mbeseha, and I'm happy the way the both of you are going about it. We want to establish, at least beyond every reasonable doubt, that the leaders or the leadership of Ambazonia trying to employ every available means to stop the 11th February is not just some people trying to create problem. It is actually based on law. It is infringement and encroachment. It is a fight against cruelty and brutality, a fight against illegality and a belligerent occupation. Now, just so before we make a final comments on this, I want us to listen to another side of a story. Please, Barrister Fru John. Let's listen to another narrative, because the world is watching us right now. Everywhere in the Cameroons, Yaoundé is watching us more. We want them to counter us, probably after listening to this chronological expose of today's program. Let them come and counter us where we are wrong in our effort to at least protect our own rights. Now let's listen to this other very great leader. That is Mola Njo Litumbe. As she gets to talk, yeah. Let's listen to him.
To the United States of America, I returned not so long ago. I went there principally on the invitation of the Cameroonian diaspora.
All right. Okay. We are going to talk more about what you discussed there while in the United States of America. Yes. We'll talk about the presidential elections in the country and the visit of the head of state to the Northwest Regional Headquarters, Bamenda. That is in the second part of this program. And the major news briefs of the week. Back to my guest, Mola Njo Litumbe. You spent more than a month in the United States of America. Why did you go there?
I went to the United States on the invitation of the diaspora there.
Like you said before?
Yes. They had listened to the first interview which Equinox granted me here, and they felt that if I was going to tell the story of Southern Cameroon, which involves some important key players like the United Nations, La République du Cameroun, Nigeria, that the matter is international and should not be limited to the confines of Cameroon alone. They therefore invited me to come and talk to the international community in the capital of the world as it is, so that the voice of this crying child of Southern Cameroon can be heard in the four corners of the world.
So you were invited by Cameroonians who live abroad?
Yes.
Not by the government of the United States of America?
No. It's Cameroonians who live abroad, having listened to the
yes, like you mentioned before.
Yes.
Did you meet some American authorities?
Not officially. I left that to the people who had invited me. They were to invite the people who were to listen to me when I addressed them.
Was that the first time that you were invited overseas?
Yes.
Since you started this struggle?
Yes.
All right. What did you tell them?
Oh, I told them about the problems facing Southern Cameroon. I gave them the history of how two United Nations trust territories, East Cameroon, which was French Cameroon, and British Cameroons, were established. They were parts of the German colony of Cameroon, because when Germany was defeated after the First World War, it renounced all its African territories at the Treaty of Versailles. And because France had overrun the greater part of German Cameroon, it was given that as a mandated territory of the League of Nations. And Britain, a smaller portion called British Cameroons, was also given to Great Britain under the League of Nations. On the formation of the United Nations in 1945 in San Francisco, these mandated territories were converted to trust territories, and agreements signed respectively with France over French Cameroon and with Britain over British Cameroons to prepare these separate territories ultimately to self-government or independence. Now, France granted independence to its own sector on 1st of January 1960. Southern or British Cameroons was still a trust territory. And on 14th of December 1960, the United Nations passed the landmark resolution 1514, saying that colonialism was evil and all colonized people should be granted unconditional independence, whether they were rich or poor, or whether they were educated or stark illiterates. They said that these people were there before the white man came, and they will find their way if they were left on their own. It was a country like Britain who grumbled and said that in some territories they have set up a police force, an army, and a public service, that if they granted independence as had been decided upon on 14th of December, there will be chaos, because in some areas these people were not able to raise the necessary funds to run these public services. So the UN then said, well, look, the ultimate objective of any country is self-government or independence. But if a territory feels that it cannot carry all the burdens of independence, it could negotiate with an already sovereign country to correct the deficiencies that it has. For example, a country may be too small to cater for its own defense, or it may not have sufficient resources to establish embassies around the world. In that case, the UN said in those circumstances, it could opt to join a neighboring sovereign state, either by way of association or by integration. And the resolution 1541, passed the day after the Universal Declaration of Independence for all colonial territories, defined what is independence by association and what is independence by integration with a neighboring sovereign state. Now, the problem in southern Cameroon, which is the southern part of the former territory of British Cameroons, is that although the United Nations conducted a plebiscite on 11th and 12th of February 1961 throughout the national territory of British Cameroons, and the question asked was the same: would you like to have your independence by joining La République du Cameroon, or would you like to have your independence by joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria? The results of the plebiscite are recorded, and the majority...
They voted to join La République.
Yes.
You've already made that
yes.
abundantly clear.
Yes.
From this historical brief that you just gave us,
yes,
you delivered this to them, the
yes.
Cameroonians in the diaspora, those
yes.
who invited you.
Yes.
What was their reaction after that?
Oh, they exclaimed and said that for the first time they are listening to the history of southern Cameroon from somebody who was not just told or educated in a classroom as to what transpired, somebody who was alive and well when these events were actually taking place. So I pointed out that we could not attain independence by association because the territory of southern Cameroon no longer exists. That the only alternative is for us to have independence by integration with La République du Cameroon. Now, the UN in resolution 1541...
Okay, by saying that, I get your point clearly.
Yes.
You, in that case, you are not talking about secession. You are talking about gaining independence
by integration
in Cameroon.
Yes.
Why working with Cameroon?
Yes, if you would...
That is to say, when you say integration, what do you mean?
It was defined in resolution 1541. And it says that if the non-self-governing territory finds that it cannot carry the burdens of independence on its own, it cannot, for example, arrange its defense or have embassies around the world, it could integrate with an already sovereign state. But if it were to do that, they shared the three powers of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary equally.
But Mola, that is already happening.
It hasn't, not to my knowledge.
5 words.
Okay, so I know a lot of people have always been used to the other part of Molanjo giving that, but this was a preamble of that discussion that I wanted us to get. It's about us setting for that legal foundation and argument of this state. So Molanjo was progressively going. The other part, we've heard it. We'll probably be having it on Tuesday. We'll have that discussion. Tuesday, which is 11 February itself, we're having a special Undaunted where we'll be having Dr. Fred Lobati and probably Barrister Mbeseha. I don't know if I'll be there, but it will be properly coordinated in a way that Ambazonians will understand the discussion progressively until where we are right now. I want to get the both of your comments to add to what he was saying there and all the laws that were defined by La République du Cameroon. very briefly, so that we can move into the lockdown and have to go into the last segment of this program. But Fru, I begin with you, please.
Yes. I think I had made a comment on the Funcha. Let me go to my learned senior brother in London, Gojidinka. He had given a very powerful presentation that I think was legally sound. But the only thing that I didn't get is he talked about the abrogation of a treaty. There was no treaty to start with. There was no treaty. But Cameroon abrogated the oral agreement in 1984. But I would argue that one, there are things that we must say it clearly. The so-called federal constitution was not binding on the Southern Cameroons. Therefore, we remain a stateless country from 1961 throughout to 1984. Because in 1984, La Republique itself walked out of the so-called imaginary union that ended at the period that we were people of a stateless country. We were stateless. We became a state only after Ayuk Tabe proclaimed the independence of the Southern Cameroons on 2017 orally in Boya after all what had happened. That would be my argument. Because there is no real document binding us with La Republique of Cameroon. The so-called federal constitution is not...
And I like the
yes. Yes, the so-called federal constitution is not binding on us. There was no treaty, and my learned colleague Gojidinka said the Cameroon abrogated the agreement, and that is correct. And therefore, we never had the citizenship of La Republique of calling ourselves Cameroonians. We never had that citizenship. I agree with him in total.
Amazing.
But coming to Panjo Tumbe, is a monument. He was trying to lay down the foundation of how we got to where we were. Yeah. And I think I have no real negative comment on that. But let me say that every Southern Cameroonian should know that we were never Cameroonians. The manipulation and so on actually never made us Cameroonians.
So we're establishing that it was all an occupation, an illegal occupation.
Yes, it was all an occupation, and we will remain stateless until 2017, where we had Ambazonia.
But as Mbeseha, what do you have to say about that?
That's my argument.
Mbeseha, what do you have to say about that?
I think Mbeseha Nsoh is wrong. We're not stateless. The problem is having a state and having a
wait, I didn't hear that.
I said we're not stateless.
I didn't hear that.
I said we were not stateless. We're not stateless.
Okay, we had a state, but we're not in Cameroon.
Yeah, no, what is what I'm trying to say. You say,
we might have had a state. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
To say that we're stateless means that we didn't have a state. We have a state, even today.
We had a state, but a non-independent state.
That's fine. There's a difference between a state and an independent state.
Okay, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, sir. I agree with you.
Yes. Right now, the bacon, the boundary pillars are still standing there. One is still in my own village. So that's a physical structure dividing the so-called one and indivisible. There's a physical structure standing there. What Sisiko did was trying to activate that statehood.
Activate it.
So what I'm trying to say is this. You see, we have talked about teaching our youth. Yeah, they should be taught. But I would rather add this. Most of the people who call youth today are well educated. They are university students. They should research these things themselves. I've always said that if anybody wants to challenge me or us, let them come out with contrary facts. I personally have about 20, 30 books there. So there are enough publications on Southern Cameroon. But even if you don't have the books, an average Ambazonian has an Android phone. You can Google all these things there, and the information will come out. Because I've always said that Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon, create the United Nations. The United Nations does not live in the space. They live on documents. I've seen them churning out university degrees, PhDs, masters from the University of Boya Bamenda. Just have the courage to go up to Boya Town, go to the archives. The information I've given here about what happened in Foman is reproduced in the archives in Boya. They are still there. Manuscripts.
Yeah.
So do the job yourself. If you need to be taught, you should teach yourself. We're in the modern world, people can download those things. We're a product of the United Nations. The United Nations is a product of human beings in writing. The charter is a written document. And so we can find out those things ourselves. If anybody dares to challenge us, they can contradict us. Then back to what Mr. Njoli, I've earlier said that what Gojidika said, in summary, legally, represents the legal position. But what Njoli said fortifies it more. Because remember, we're talking about 11 February. The decision to organize the play was by United Nations Resolution 1352. That was 1959. It's written there, 1959. But after taking that resolution, Mr. Njoli has gone further to give a better explanation. After the 1959 resolution, fixing 11 February 1961 for the play, before that 1961 came, the United Nations came back to that resolution of plebiscite. But resolution 1514, which Njoli Tumba explained, which plebisciting was even wrong. Because people should be given independence no matter their size, no education,
correct,
no matter the economy. It was now 60. Before 1961, that was supposed to hold a plebiscite. And then, suppose people are so poor, the British have put it. Back, 1960 again, back 1941. And said if a country is poor and they want to join with somebody at the conditions, these documents written down in black and white, why would the United Nations in the first place have gone further with the so-called plebiscite, which was in violation of this verse 1514 and 1541? So to answer your question, the legal basis under which we argue our assertions, justify our claims. And again, as to whether we're not one indivisible. Physically speaking, if you go to the territory, you see physical landmarks put there with a marking. French Cameroon. Is that a united, one and indivisible physical territory? No. If this chain mark standing there, and then what is the one and indivisibility? I say one of those pillars is standing in my own village. In 2002 or so, the Francophones tried to dig it out. They dug it out. It didn't fall standing there. It took them in Bafoussam. And they said, no, you cannot dig out that thing. It is standing there as we speak today in 2025. So where is the one indivisible Cameroon with the physical structures standing there, showing East Cameroon? No, showing Cameroon under French administration, and the other one Cameroon under French administration. They don't exist. So we have a territory which was seeking boundary recognition. Yes, we have physical boundaries. They will not get, you don't need to get to the boundaries are standing there. We border East Cameroon. Our boundaries are clear. They have not responsible for our own area. The farmer end at the street.
They cannot touch it. They cannot even dig it up.
We're just looking for, we know metasm.
We have a concept. We have a state. We have an internationally recognized boundary. French Cameroon is encroaching, and going to the extent of celebrating an 11 February is not just a fraud, but an assault to our national or our territorial integrity. And national sovereignty. Right after the break, we'll be getting into the lockdown to tell you why it must happen and why the collaboration from everyone watching us at the home front is superlatively imperative. Stay tuned.
Stand with Ambazonia. Empower ABC Amba TV. We are calling on Ambazonians around the world to unite and uplift ABC Amba TV, Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. In this critical time of war, ensuring the station's survival is more important than ever. But what does ABC Amba TV truly represent for Ambazonia?
At the heart of Ambazonia's war of independence, ABC Amba TV stands as a beacon. Years of recolonization, annexation, and French Cameroon's oppressive occupation of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have led to our exclusion. Our identity was hidden, our history distorted, our sovereignty denied. Queen of England is aware that the British Southern Cameroons were never a colony under France.
Since its inception in 2018, ABC Amba TV has been our lifeline.
Months of diplomacy have failed to resolve the crisis as fear grows over an imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Our work in the dark is our chance to tell our stories to the world, to give voice to the voiceless and broadcast the truth of our struggle.
We are serious about executing this revolution.
It has become a vital arm of our government in wartime, making diplomacy achievable and showcasing our untold stories.
ABC Amba, you guys know how important ABC is for this, our quest for international recognition.
Your donations can make a world of difference. Every bit of support helps keep our stories alive, our presence known, and our fight in the global conversation.
The moment they notice that we are no longer on air, they think that, oh, maybe La Republic has succeeded. This is about Ambazonia. One thing we must always remember.
Where would we be without ABC Amba TV? Let's ensure we never have to find out.
A revolution is a temporary state of insanity to bring about sanity.
Mobilize, donate, stand with Ambazonia, donate to ABC Amba TV.
Together, let's write the next chapter of our history.
It is better to light the candle than to curse the dark.
Support ABC Amba TV campaign. Ambazonia Independence, voice for the voiceless. Mobilize for change.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned in to Ambazonia this week. Right now, I want to talk about the lockdown. As you would have heard from the Ambazonia National Security Council, working in very close collaboration with the Ambazonian State Army, the nation will not just be respecting the traditional Country Sunday that starts every Monday, that's nationwide. It will extend into Tuesday, the 11th of February itself, and even into Wednesday, which is the 12th of February. A lot, you have proxies of La République du Cameroun have even appeared during our stream and our post to say that why not just one day? And I have the lawyers here who are members of government, and they do understand the reason behind the strategy having the nation entirely locked down for 3 days? Don't you think it could just be some form of inflicting pain on the people at home? What is the pros, or what are the pros and the cons of having these 3 days totally locked down? Very briefly, Barrister Fru.
Yes, the lockdown is totally welcome because we don't want to give a free ride to La Republic of Cameroon to continue to use us on an issue that does not concern us, that we frown against. 11th of February. And let me remind our people at home and abroad, everywhere, especially in the home front, Monday the 10th is already our country Sunday. So you lose nothing. It's your normal day of rest, normal lockdown. So you just double the two and lock the territory down on Monday. And then the real D-Day, which is Tuesday, 11th of February, is a no-no. And I'm passing this message to the county of Momo, because what we saw, Lele Afrique presiding in Bengui, should not be allowed to take place on the 11th of February. I hope Momo is mobilizing the Ambazonian State Army to make sure to enforce the lockdown in Momo. Same thing goes for Mezam. Same thing goes for all the other counties, but more especially Momo, because that's where Lele Afrique has shot the first shot. Momo, please lock down Momo on the 11th of February, and on the 10th, of course, is our country Sunday, and we will double it and lock it down twice, but it's one day, Monday. Tuesday is the D-Day, total lockdown. Wednesday, which is the 12th, is the day that the lockdown finishes for our people to go back to work. So that is, those 3 days are enough for us to lock our territory down and to send a powerful message to the international community, especially in 2025 when we are expecting to be free. That is what I am telling my people, that we are going to be free in 2025. Therefore, we should do things that the international community will take us seriously. Lock the whole territory down so that they know that the 11th of February that happened, it was neither there nor there. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Before we get to you, Barrister Mbeseha, we have Commander Evis, one of the commanders of the Ambazonian State Army. Thank you for joining us via the phone network. We wish we would have had some representatives of your department to come and talk to us, the preparedness to ensure the enforcement of these 3 days national lockdown. Commander Evis, talk to us. The Ambazonians at home front are listening to you.
Thank you very much, Tarh Paddy. I want to send my regards to Barrister Mbeseha and Barrister Fru John Nsoh. I want to thank those state men for their great service and sacrifice to a great nation. And I just want to also thank you for the invitation. As you know, we have come to that point in time where we have actually stopped all La Republic colonial activities in our territory. The 11th of February being one of those days where they celebrate those illegal days that have been banned throughout Ambazonia. So the Ambazonian National Defense Council, the ANSC, had already issued a 3 days lockdown starting on Sunday, which is tomorrow the 9th, Monday the 11th, and Tuesday, Monday the 10th and Tuesday the 11th. So this is the day that the Ambazonian State Army will reinforce its decisions in Toto. So we were calling on all Ambazonians nationwide to respect this lockdown, stay at home and stay safe, and also make sure that everybody act in unionism to make sure that this national lockdown is a success. So we're looking forward to, a nationwide lockdown for those 3 days. We've already informed the population. They had some time today to stock up on their food. Their safety is always a concern to us, and we take their safety very seriously. We've also had some indications where La Republic is planning to use these terror activities like they've done back in the days in Cambe, and tack those terrorist activities on our Ambazonian State Army. But we would not let that happen this time around. The reason why we are calling on our civilian population to be safe and stay at home, because a fire that does not hear will definitely be following the corpse to the grave. So in that case, Paddy, we want to thank you for your service as well, and thank the Ambazonian people for respecting this lockdown already.
I'm happy that you've made a correction here, because we were given a misinformation. Based on the correction, you said the lockdown actually begins tomorrow, Sunday, into Monday, and then to Tuesday. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. I just have a few questions to ask you. A few questions.
Sorry. Just let me retract back. Sorry. The 11th of February is on a Tuesday.
It's on Tuesday.
The lockdown is on Monday, that Tuesday, and then Wednesday. It's 3-day lockdown.
Okay, so I was initially correct. So the lockdown begins on Monday the 10th, which is already our country Sunday, into Tuesday, and then Wednesday.
Very correct.
Yep.
I think I was wrong. I thought.
Okay,
yes, that's
amazing.
Right.
So Ambazonians that are watching us, you have today and tomorrow Sunday, stock your homes with some food, and then know that you'll be locked down. You'll be locked down. We have spent about 2 hours giving to you reasons why we have to resist every aspect of French Cameroon's occupation or lordship in our land. Now, Commander Evans, I want to ask you a few questions. You've just mentioned that the state army is working in very close collaboration with the denizens to ensure that they're locked down and there's enforcement. And you've also spoken about the intelligence you're having. There are chances whereby Cameroon will do what Ngala Jera did to his own people in Doom, planting a bomb with the objective of accusing the state army. That's an aside. We understand that some sanity is already getting into Mezam, not necessarily from fighters in Mezam. We've not had a chance to have anyone in your department talk to us on this issue. I'd like you to tell us very clearly what we should be expecting and what has been done. Don't tell strategy if you don't need to. But we understand. I have received feedback from Bamenda that fighters are coming in, that they thought that they didn't have fighters. They are seeing fighters. They don't even know where the fighters are coming. Some say they see fighters coming in from Bui, from Manu, and from different parts around Bamenda, around Ambazonia, to ensure something is happening and that there's some sanity and people are protected against kidnapping and so on and so forth. Do you want, if you're comfortable, you may want to tell us a little bit more about what is happening on that and how you think Ambazonians can help this great initiative to restore some sanity, particularly in Mezam.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Paddy, once more. As you have clearly articulated, Ambazonia is not just fighting for, one county. All fighters have that responsibility to bring sanity in any part of the country where there is insanity. So if we discover that there are activities, say in Mesa, that need the assistance of the Ambazonian State Army, we definitely call on all the Ambazonian State Army to mobilize and make sure that they produce those results for those people there, that they would protect it. Because any Ambazonia killed anywhere in Ambazonia is a loss for our nation, and we cannot allow mayhem in one part of the country while others are more stabilized. So in effect, the General Ambazonian State Army is a nationwide state army. Each county has their own defense forces in place, but when something touches a county, it's not just the county that's responsible for bringing sanity, it's the whole Ambazonian State Army. Yes, we have actually deployed Ambazonian State Armies in various counties already, especially counties that need additional help to be able to stamp out what we now see as kidnapping for ransoms or even those illegal arrests. We are making sure that we fortify, enforce that those state armies that are already in the county to better handle the situation. In some cases, we have seen that the implants have been those responsible for carrying out those kidnappings. In those cases, we have also made sure that we stand strong and even arrest those who claim to be us, who are not actually us, and carrying out those kind of activities to tarnish the image of the Ambazonian State Army.
Now, very quickly, Commander Evis, I'm not cutting you short. Will you say that this initiative is gaining traction?
Definitely. It is something that even the population needs. We've called on the population to see something, say something. If they know any bandits or any group that is actually carrying out these kind of activities, they should report it. We in Bui have been a great victim to this. We've lost, I think, going up to like 5 people already in Mbeseha County, most of them from Bui County. And one of them that we know got killed maybe just about less than 2 weeks ago. And it actually pained our civilian population. So that's not something that we can just watch and fold our arms and watch. So as the ANSC, we have to be able to follow up with some orders that the Ambazonian State Army has to carry. Remember, we have a code of conduct that actually guides our forces on what to do in the battlefield. And this is just one of those scenarios where they have to come in and step up.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your time. I wish we had you much longer. Barrister Mbeseha, maybe you want to talk to us a little bit, talk to the people on the home front watching you on what is the conduct required from them as they will be locked down for 3 days. Talk to us, Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, if I have anything to add, it will be simply this. Celebrations, call it February 11th. They are high-profile events. You go public to march, to sing, and to dance. Say no to those things. Stay in your house. It will not cost you anything. But the question you should ask yourself, you are being forced to go and march, to go and celebrate, is you are celebrating for what? What achievements are you trying to celebrate as a youth? Calling youth, they were discussing Youth Day. What are the youth in Ambazonia in particular going to celebrate? Other than misery, outright death, murders. Are you going to celebrate the killing of that young man, the caterpillar driver in Bamenda? Was a young man by every standard. Are you going to celebrate the deaths of children in Garbu, in Big Babanki and Small Babanki, in Mawutu, in Mato? Is that what you want to celebrate as a youth? Is that worth the price for you to celebrate? Absolutely not. And so we have come to the pinnacle of this story, that stay back home. Be safe, better be safe in your house. Better die in your own house if they must come and burn their house as they've been burning before. Because even your cousins will come and take the opportunity to bury your carcasses under the smoke, than to go standing in the grandstand, go marching to celebrate nothing. And that will take us again back to what Pa Foncha said. Foncha was lamenting at the loss of his police force, at the loss of his security. If we had remained what we were, disorder will not run down the streets in Bamenda, in Buea, or anywhere in Ambazonia. They killed the structures in an attempt to assimilate us. They disbanded the police force of West Cameroon and also added their gendarmes. And that notwithstanding, law and disorder has reigned throughout Ambazonia. What are we going to celebrate? Why are you going to take the risk? As Mr. Nsoh said, somebody is begging you to go to Mbengwe to meet a duo, some chiefs. Can you simply ignore those chiefs? Of course. The chief might be bribed. That is really what is the truth. But how many chiefs, after taking that bribe, come back home and give you a bottle of beer, which is your passion, every in Cameroon there? None. You reach yourself to go celebrate something in Mbengwe. Trek. Imomo is what I know. There are not many roads. People trek. Are you going to celebrate the death of those children in Guyang Market? These were youths. Are you going to celebrate the kidnapping, which is done either directly by Yahweh or their proxies? People who are suffering are the youths. People who are the victims are the youths. So why must you take your neck and put in the court and hang yourself to die? Stay back home. 3 days is not a lifetime, but it can mean a lot in your life. Stay back home to be safe. At least nobody will force you from your house to go and march. But if you dare walk with your 2 legs to go there, you are taking a risk. For those in Bamenda, it's not too long. Remember, sometime we were celebrating 12 years anniversary somewhere in upstation Bamenda there, or whatever they call it. A woman walked from Kwen with her 2 legs and went there to show her bravery, to show her support for the criminal regime. She came back to her house. She didn't live for 48 hours. She died. That's the misfortune of her own family. Don't put yourself at risk. Stay home. Be safe. We are on the wrong hole. We are struggling and struggling, and we succeed. If Lele Afrique, because Okala Bilai, will have to come and save the grandstand, they were sitting there with armored cars surrounding them, while you walk through the footpath, because there's no road for you even to drive motorcycle there. You're walking through the footpath, risking stones, risking spears, risking your life. You come and honor them, dance, march before them, and clap for them when they stand up. Is that the risk worth taking? No. Stay back home, be safe. But if you choose to take the risk, you are daring your own life. Over to you.
Okay, we're getting into another segment, and the interest of it is the reaction of a cross-section of the world, which I think we're going to talk about that very briefly before we bring the president's advice to the people of Ambazonia. I want us to watch this video with Trump's foreign policy being expressed during a press conference with Netanyahu. But my interest is not even the plan of the United States via Trump. My interest is the reaction of the world. And I'm asking myself, why don't you hold France accountable, or La République du Cameroun accountable for the occupation of Ambazonia, like you're claiming that Israel is occupying Palestine? Let's watch this video.
Their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
Given what you've said about Gaza, did the U.S. send troops to help secure the security vacuum?
Okay, that is just a brief. The point is the entire world is grumbling that the United States is enabling Israel to occupy or to annex the Palestinians. And I'm like, okay, is Trump's policy going to bring solution? And if that's the way Trump looks at it, what about the Southern Cameroons? It's like everybody's protecting their interests in a way that somewhere in one sub-region, regional conflict, there is a superpower protecting an interest that does not address the plight of the oppressed people. I begin very briefly with you because we're concluding this program. We are way out of our time. Very briefly with you, Barrister Fru. That's the direction I want to talk about.
Paddy, because of the diplomatic footwork that we are engaged in right now, I will not answer that question.
Amazing. Okay, Barrister Mbeseha, you also want to
Well, attempt to answer it. I'll answer it because I think publicly, I think Trump is just wrong. Southern Cameroon is under occupation. Claims that we are one and indivisible. That's their claim. That's the narrative publicly.
Yeah.
But look at Israel and the Gaza. Israel is in occupation of Palestine, but they have never claimed to own Palestine. Even when they put their settlement there, they call them settlements. They call it occupied territories. So they recognize the fact internationally that they are not supposed to be there. And so nobody will come from the moon, call it Trump or anybody else, to erase that physical structure called Gaza and hand it over to an unwilling Israel. Israel has never claimed to own. They have never claimed to Palestine. No, they are just occupiers, and they call them occupied territories. So that's factual. That's historically unfounded. Our own case, I've just said. Whereas, Yaoundé said, no, there's no boundary between us and Ambazonia.
So Yaoundé just wants to own us.
Yeah. So these are two different things that we don't need to go somewhere to verify it. Again, Trump has the right to
like I said, we should be careful what we say because we are engaged in some very serious diplomatic footwork.
What I say will not be us.
No, I like what Barrister Mbeseha said because he's not accusing anybody. He's just saying that Israel has never claimed to own Gaza. And the Republic is saying that we are one and indivisible. What
I'm trying to say is this: but Mr. Trump has the right to say anything that he likes. But from my own experience, no American president attends even 30% of what they do in political promises. Never. He's not going to be an exception. Try, but I doubt if he succeeds, President of America, to attend 20% of his election promises. So, in the interest of America, he can say what he likes. He has 2 years to erase Gaza, put shopping malls on some people of the area, not some people of the area. So let's wait and see. That's what it is.
That's amazing right there. That's amazing right there. We're getting to the last aspect of this conversation, which has to do with the changes in immigration. And the president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia sent an extraordinary audio out yesterday that's making waves on the media, advising and encouraging those who might be victims or those who might be in vulnerable situations what to do. Let's listen to him, and right after that we'll be concluding the program with our brief analysis.
Fellow Ambazonians, and they talk for all people the way come from Ambazonia, they dey inside America now and they no get paper. The one that with the day for borders for enter America where they never enter. This message they come for una through the presidency for the government of Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. So I want to assure una say make una no worry, but something that they wanna get for Sabia. Now say right now as we talk, the government of America they try for look through the thing the way the other government be doing. So shake no day. If you be say you dey for inside America where you be get your temporary protective status or you know be don't get her because it don't be extended to June. So let me say if you dey here you never apply for your temporary protective status, so you don't already enter for inside country, if you still apply and one thing be say you get for be very sure say they not go move you as far as you come out for Ambazonia. But we will get problem with people the way they say they come out for Cameroon and they come out, they lie say they be Ambazonians and they here they enjoy the temporary protected status. We will make sure say that mistake, they correct her. This government correct that mistake. Now if you dey for here where you never get your temporary protected status, if it still apply temporary protected status, or if you know say you will be qualified for even ask for asylum, you still get right for apply for asylum. They never stop granting asylum. If I say make your application be on file, and they will surely send you acknowledgement receipt. That acknowledgement receipt to go keep you, as a legal person for America, or you go straight for the temporary protected status, where it still be guaranteed up to June because they never cancel it. But if you did for that side for border where you never enter, and because they don't close the border, Mexico don't send soldier them for borders. America don't send soldier them. That means say they don't tell una say una remain for that side for Mexico till further notice. Just stay for the no worry. If you know say true, you be Ambazonian, and we know you for this government. No worry. If you did for that side, no worry. Just be for the die hard before they vote. People the way they feel pray, just continue for pray, because we the work on the ground. We'll be silent for media, but it not because we the work. We'll try to do everything for say make we protect our people. And we'll make sure say we be understood. We will make sure say we also work for make sure say by that June, where they go to extend this temporary protected status for our people, they not get for include people the way they come out for La Republic. Anywhere within La Republic, where they not come out from Southern Cameroon, where they not be Ambazonians. Because we know from the beginning, say this temporary protected status, this TPS, it will be primarily now for our people. The people them like as usual, Republicans, they don't jump, come here, talk all like them. They claim the TOA be our own. We will make sure say under this government, that one is stopped. That one will stop. Now, if you be say you be Ambazonian, you find yourself for that kind of situation where you need help. You don't know what for do. You don't know what for how for go about what we get for do. My advice for you now say contact your local government chairman or your county chair or any executive where you see them for ABC all time. Where you know say this one now people them for this government. Contact the person so that it will help you forget your local government on your county chair. Now that county chair and the local government will contact we for the presidency. They'll contact we for inside the presidency so that we will see what we will do. If nothing will fit help for now. But I want to assure all Ambazonians in America and at home, say we there for the matter, for make sure say Ambazonians, they don't suffer for any way where we get the power for doing. So may wanna just sit down quiet and continue for pray, because for this window we'll get them. Now we are time for freedom. Now you don't reach so. So the message that was say make you pass this message across. If you get anybody where you did for that difficult situation, may you know what you for do now, and make you know say with the work. Even people the way they be there for different program the way they be the wait. So and they don't even buy tickets for different part of the world. Program they do they be for bring people them for here for America, but they don't stop them temporarily. Make una no worry any place on a day. No, I just tie hat because with the work, with the do what we will get for do for make sure say we no remain for that place on a day. God bless you. Pass this message across until freedom comes. All right.
That was quite encouraging, timely, and a clear proof of a leader or taking responsibility to lead. Amazing there, Barrister Fru. What do you think?
Yes. I want to make 2 or 3 points clear. The first point is, if you are in America already, and you came through the borders and you were processed at the borders, and they gave you from I-94, and you later on receive, whether you receive a work permit or not, you are documented. They cannot remove you. Second point is that you, in order to be protected, go and apply for your TPS right now. For those who are on the removal list, because what they call removal list is if you don't go for court, if you have gone to court and you have lost your case, the next thing that comes to you is a removal letter. When you receive that letter, don't panic. Go and apply, get your lawyer to apply for TPS. You will continue to stay here. It is extended up to June, but we know that after June it will be extended as long as La Republic is still fighting us. So that is a very important point that our people should know. Everybody who has not gotten any paper, no green card, nothing, go and apply for TPS. Apply for your TPS so that you are not removed. If you have received a removal letter that is asking you to go home, go and apply for TPS, you will stay. If you don't go and they catch you with that removal letter and you have not applied for TPS, they will take you home. They will deport you. So please be careful. The tendency is that they will not deport anybody to Cameroon, to Ambazonia, but don't take those chances. Go and apply for your TPS if you are on the removal list.
Amazing.
We're talking to the whole of America, those of us who are here in America, Ambazonians, like the president said, Cameroonians have benefited from all our troubles. It's coming to an end. They will no longer benefit from this TPS that I'm talking about.
It's even unfortunate that we have people who are Ambazonians who are benefiting from the struggle to get their asylum, and then they turn around and look at us and they tell us from the diaspora that will not struggle. From the diaspora, you have Ambazonians working with La Republique du Cameroon, and they are benefiting from the struggle to have a state.
Yes, but they are still our citizens for now. So everybody, every Ambazonian is entitled to TPS. Every Ambazonian is entitled to TPS. If you are a Cameroonian and you are not an Ambazonian, you are not entitled to TPS. Let me make myself clear. Because if you apply even, they tell you where, they ask you where you come from, you will be refused.
That's amazing.
The reason why it is extended, the reason why they have to cut it off in June and renew it, it is because they want to purge those who are not supposed to benefit from TPS. When the time comes, you will not be renewed. Thank you.
Mbeseha.
Well, I think the other thing I would say is that, see, that's the president of Ambazonia talking. He's the head of the government of Ambazonia. And what I can tell the public, Ambazonians and even foreigners, is that the government gives out facts. They give out government positions, which you should rely on. Don't rely on charlatans. We are so fond of these people. We are fond of Ambazonians who don't want to believe the truth, but they want to believe in hearsay. And I give you two illustrations. This is Ambazonia. We had people jailed in the war, murdered left and right. And we filed a complaint at the ICC. Have a documented receipt. And we say there's a complaint. Somebody can say, no, I filed one with his word, but you want to believe the guy who is just talking with his words? Where is the proof? No evidence. And then Ambazonians will believe him and disbelieve what the government has told them they have done. And so this is the mark of Ambazonia. We have Ambazonians who are here calling for ghost town, lockdowns on 11 February. Say it publicly. Some Ambazonians left and right with their radios, with their phones. We say, no, I have my radio, but I cannot call for ghost town. I cannot call for a lockdown. President Sako is not doing one. What prevents you from using your own radio to call the same thing? That is being a charlatan. So to Ambazonian people, listen to the government of Ambazonia. He has told you, the president has said it. I don't need further explanation. If you need difficulty, if you get into difficulty, call us and find out. If we don't have the information, we'll give you the correct information. Don't believe in hearsay. Don't believe in charlatans. There are many, many charlatans in this struggle. Again, learn to believe from your own government. There's a reason why we call ourselves a government. President Sako is not the oldest man in this struggle. He's not even the most educated, but he's talking authoritatively from what we know. And so, like him or not, believe in the facts he gives you. As far as deportation is concerned, as far as American immigration laws are concerned, who have the facts, who have people who can contact. If you don't contact us for advice, so be it. If you choose to believe in the win, that you are doing it at your own risk. And so, believe in your government, in everything we do and say, because most of what we do and say is documented, is verifiable. It's not imagination. And so, like us or not, believe the message that will give you to be genuine, to be actionable. And so, Ambazonians, listen to your government. Again, the doors are open for you. If you have a problem, we might have. We cannot have any problem, but we might have. But we will not help you from your bedroom until you contact us and seek advice. That's the only thing I can say about that. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Barrister Mbeseha. Thank you most, Barrister Fru. Thank you both for always opting to be a part of this educational program. Ambazonians, every single moment they spend with us every Saturday, they go back happy, not just because we have educated them on facts, like Barrister Mbeseha was concluding there, but also because we come to revive the struggle and to give you update week after week what is happening as you close the week, what you need to have in your minds. The struggle is making progress more than ever before. You just heard there from the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia that they are working very closely with the government to ensure that by the time of the renewal of the TPS, those from La République to Cameroon benefiting from it will no longer benefit from it. Those who are still at the borders seeking to get in, be rest assured it will be opened and you will be considered, because there is actually a genocidal onslaught in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. You have to be straight with your counties and LGAs. Contact your counties and LGAs so that you are not disadvantaged at this critical time. I conclude by telling all those who are tuning in and those particularly in the diaspora watching us, not those at the home front, the best way for you to express your anger, if you feel like a proxy, a platform is coming probably to condemn or probably to sabotage our efforts, whatever, radio, television, whatever you want to call it, it's not to waste energy talking about it, is to double your efforts. What are you doing for ABC Amba TV? Nowhere in Ambazonia would you watch a program like this. We'll be here for about 3 hours just telling you what you need to know and why we need to ensure that the nation is locked down for 3 days. Why a certain guy who calls himself Fabiano is working for Cameroon and trying to stop the lockdown. We have the mic, the microphone that is louder than his, and we believe that Ambazonians would have to lock down, not just because we want to suffer them, but because they need to preserve their territorial integrity and our national sovereignty. And a peaceful way of doing that, of resisting French Cameroon's occupation, is the lockdown. Just respect it so that you are not positioning yourself as a military victim. If you're found out of your house or participating by any form the organized activities by La République du Cameroon, you would have constituted and positioned yourself as a military target, and you have yourself to be blamed. Until next time, it's been Tarh Paddy. It is time for me to say bye-bye.